The Undefeated's Jason Reid. Some folks saying it was just a matter of time. Other folks wondering if this would ever happen. Did this surprise you?
Well, I wouldn't use the word surprise, Bob. I think what I've thought all along is that the situation at safety in the league, there was a point, at some point, that he could be signed. And I think when you look at it through the prism of the case that he filed, the collusion grievance, I talking to lawyers on the phone today before I came in to do the show. What several pointed out to me is this could have a mitigating factor on damages because clearly he's now signed on a team, and one of the things is that the allegation was that he could not get into the league, he could not get a job because of what he did. So now he has a job, so this is definitely going to affect this case one way or another.
It may stop the clock on the damages, but he'll certainly continue to maintain he was damaged to this point. Let's talk about Jerry Richardson, former player in the league, founder of the Panther franchise, selling under scandal, frankly. Here comes David Tepper. What's your reading on that?
Well, I think when you look at the change in ownership and trying to turn over new leaves, clean slate, however you want to phrase it, that this is something that could make people in that organization, being the players, feel pretty good about, okay, the direction that we're going. You mentioned in the clip that we just saw, Reid openly campaigning, and when a guy like Torrey Smith, when a guy like Torrey Smith says something like that, he's a leader in that locker room, even though he just joined the team. That's something that resonates with the other guys. So this could definitely be an olive branch and kind of say, hey, we're starting a new way here.
Yet the official word from the front office today with the Panthers, strictly a football decision, because clearly anything they say is going right into the file for the suit, the grievance he has against the league. But they got a bye week. They figure he should be starting right away.
Well, you would think with their situation at that position, yeah. Now, he has been off for a while, and even though I'm sure he's been training, it's not the same thing as being in NFL practices, getting NFL practice reps, NFL game reps. So I wouldn't expect him to be quite as sharp, and he also has to learn their system. The guy's a veteran safety, so I'm sure that he's going to be able to pick it up. But even with the time they have off, I wouldn't expect him to be on top of his game when he gets immediately back in there.
And then you've got Eric Reid and his social activism. Yes, we frame it in terms of kneeling because that is the popular image. We use the B-roll, the tape of that, obviously. But it's important to remember last fall and remind us of the schism that formed among those players who wanted to make their voices heard last year.
Well, Bob, the Players Coalition, of which Eric Reid and Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reid was definitely a member. Colin Kaepernick was, I guess you could call him an associate member. He was never fully integrated with it. But Eric Reid was, and there was a very high-profile, very public split. Eric Reid and Kaepernick did not like the direction of the Players Coalition under Malcolm Jenkins and Anquan Boldin, and they broke off. Now, Eric Reid still is very much into social justice, and what he said at the time was he was going to do his own thing away from the Players Coalition. Torrey Smith, member of the Players Coalition, very vocal member of that. Yeah. I think as they move forward, it's going to be interesting to see in what space does Eric Reid continue his social activism now that he is back in the league.
And again, he had said, even I think prior to his visit to the Bengals, that he did not intend to kneel. And so many of the activist players say it's not about the kneeling, it's about the causes that we are trying to advance. Certainly, that's an important thing. So now I mentioned every opening would start the clock on defensive backfield. Same thing in Niners, Garoppolo gone. They go down to their practice squad, elevate a young man. So they don't sign Kaepernick. Does Kaepernick have a legitimate shot for a real look this year?
Well, Bob, I've written often that I never thought he was getting back in because of the stance that he took and then after filing the collusion grievance. However, I will say this. With Reid now, I think this does at least open the door. The door may be more ajar now than it's ever been, if for no other reason, after the league lost the recent ruling to throw out the Kaepernick's collusion grievance, maybe there's now a calculus, okay, well, let's see if, we do this, if there is an opening and we sign him, how does that affect things? I'm not saying I definitely think he's going to get back in, but I do see the door more ajar now than I have really at any point in the last year and a half.